Alex Carter stepped off the transport shuttle and into the biggest space station he had ever seen. The Federation Central Station stretched out in all directions, with tall walls that seemed to go on forever. Thousands of different aliens walked through the halls, and Alex had never seen anything like it. He pulled his bag closer and followed the signs toward the diplomatic quarter. As a new aide to the human embassy, Alex wanted to make a good first impression. He had studied hard for this job, but nothing had prepared him for the real thing. The first thing he noticed was the security checkpoint ahead. A long line of aliens waited to pass through scanners and metal detectors. Alex watched as each species went through different procedures. The tall blue Zephyrians had to spit into special containers. Their saliva was so acidic it could burn through metal in seconds. The stocky Thorians wore special bands around their heads that stopped them from creating electromagnetic pulses with their brains. A group of graceful Kalani stood in a separate line. They breathed into masks that filtered out their natural pheromones. Alex had read that Kalani could release chemicals that made other species feel fear, anger, or even love. The masks kept everyone safe from accidental mind control. But as Alex approached the checkpoint, something strange happened. The security guard, a large reptilian being with 4 arms, looked at Alex's identification card and waved him through. No scanner. No special procedures. Nothing. Alex stopped. "Excuse me, don't I need to go through security?" The guard's yellow eyes blinked slowly. "You are human, yes?" "Yes, but humans walk free. Always." The guard pointed toward the diplomatic quarter. "Go." Alex felt confused but didn't want to argue. He walked past the long lines of aliens, all of whom turned to watch him. Their expressions were hard to read, but Alex felt like they were studying him. Some looked curious. Others seemed almost afraid. The diplomatic quarter was just as impressive as the rest of the station. Tall windows showed the stars outside, and the floors were made of some kind of smooth stone that felt warm under his feet. Alex found the human embassy easily enough. It was smaller than he expected, but well kept. Inside, he met Lisa Morgan, his supervisor. She was in her 50s, with gray hair and kind eyes. She'd been working at the embassy for 15 years. "Welcome to the Federation, Alex," Lisa said with a smile. "How was your trip through security?" "That's actually what I wanted to ask about," Alex said. "They just let me walk through. Everyone else had to give up weapons or disable body parts." "Why are humans different?" Lisa's smile grew wider. "You noticed that, did you? Don't worry, you'll understand soon enough." "But it doesn't make sense," Alex continued. "I mean, look at us compared to them. The Thorians are twice our size and can generate electricity. The Zephyrians have acid for blood. We're just normal humans. Shouldn't we be the least dangerous species here?" "That's what most people think," Lisa said. She picked up a data pad from her desk. "Tell me, Alex, what do you see when you look at this?" Alex looked at the pad. It was just a standard Federation device about the size of a book, with a clear screen. "It's a data pad?" "What else?" Alex thought for a moment. "Well, I guess you could use it as a mirror, or a tray for carrying small things. If you broke it, the pieces could cut something. The battery might be useful for making sparks." Lisa nodded. "And what do you think a Thorian would see?" "A data pad?" "Exactly. Just a data pad. They would use it to read data and nothing else." Alex still felt confused, but before he could ask more questions, Lisa's office door chimed. A tall, insect-like alien entered. It had 6 legs, 4 arms, and compound eyes that sparkled like jewels. Alex recognized it as a Vexthari from his studies. "Ambassador Morgan," the alien said in a clicking voice. "I hope I am not interrupting." "Not at all, Ambassador Zithkala. This is Alex Carter, our new aide." The Vexthari turned its large eyes toward Alex. "Ah, another human. I must admit, your species fascinates me." "How so?" Alex asked. "You appear so harmless," Ambassador Zithkala clicked. "No natural weapons, no armor, no venom or acid or electromagnetic abilities. Your bodies are soft and weak compared to most species. Yet you alone walk through our halls without restriction." Alex looked at Lisa, hoping she would explain, but she just smiled and gestured for him to answer. I honestly don't know why, Alex said. I just arrived today. Interesting, the ambassador said. In my species, we are born with sharp claws and can inject paralyzing poison. We know exactly what makes us dangerous, but humans? You are a mystery. After the ambassador left, Alex tried again to get answers from Lisa. Come on, you have to tell me something. Why don't we need security checks? Lisa stood up and walked to the window. Outside, more ships were arriving at the station. Alex, how long have humans been part of the Federation? About 50 years, right? 53 years. And in that time, has any human ever attacked another species on this station? Alex thought about it. I don't know, have they? No, not once. No human has ever hurt another Federation citizen here. We've never even threatened anyone. So we're trusted because we're peaceful? Lisa turned back to him. Oh, Alex, we're not trusted because we're peaceful. We're trusted because everyone knows what happens when humans aren't peaceful. Before Alex could ask what she meant, his communicator beeped. It was his assignment for the day. Attend a meeting between human diplomats and trade representatives from 3 different species. The meeting was in a large conference room with a round table. Alex sat quietly in the corner, taking notes as requested. The discussion was about trade routes and shipping schedules. Nothing exciting, but during a break, Alex overheard 2 aliens talking near the refreshment table. They were speaking in Federation Common, which Alex understood. I still don't trust them, said a Thorian delegate. Humans look so weak, but there's something wrong with them. Wrong how? Asked a Kalani representative. They think differently. Last week, I saw a human maintenance worker fix a broken door using only a food wrapper and some cleaning fluid. It should have taken special tools and hours of work. Maybe he was just clever. That's what I mean. They're all like that. They look at everything like it's a puzzle to solve or a tool to use. It's not natural. Alex listened carefully, trying to understand what they meant. When the meeting ended, he walked back to the embassy with more questions than answers. That evening, Lisa took him to dinner at the station's main restaurant. The place was huge, with sections designed for different species. Some aliens needed special atmosphere or gravity. Others required specific types of lighting. As they ate, Alex watched the other diners. Every species had their own way of eating, their own customs, their own obvious strengths and weaknesses. Humans seemed ordinary by comparison. Lisa, Alex said finally, I need to understand this. Everyone keeps hinting that humans are special or dangerous, but I don't see it. We're just people. Lisa put down her fork and looked at him seriously. Alex, tomorrow I'm going to introduce you to someone who can explain things better than I can. But I want you to remember something. What? Every other species in the Federation evolved to be good at one thing. Thorians generate electricity. Zephyrians produce acid. Kalani control emotions. They know exactly what their abilities are and how to use them. And humans? Humans evolved to survive, not by being the strongest or fastest or most toxic, by being able to adapt to anything. She smiled again. You'll understand soon enough. That night, Alex lay in his small quarters thinking about the day. Outside his window, the station continued its endless activity. Ships came and went. Aliens of dozens of species lived and worked together in peace. And somewhere in that peaceful crowd, humans walked freely through halls where everyone else had to prove they were safe. Alex fell asleep wondering what made his species so special, that an entire galactic federation trusted them completely. He had no idea how dangerous that trust really was. The next morning, Lisa took Alex deep into the station's administrative section. They walked through corridors he hadn't seen before, past offices filled with aliens working at computers and filing systems. Everything looked official and important. Where are we going? Alex asked as they entered an elevator that went down several levels. The Federation Historical Archives, Lisa replied. There's someone you need to meet. The archives were bigger than Alex expected. Rows and rows of data storage units lined the walls, reaching up toward a ceiling he couldn't see. The air smelled like metal and electricity. A few aliens worked, quietly at research stations accessing old records and files. Lisa led him to a small office in the back corner. The nameplate on the door read, Commander Jake Phillips, Senior Historical Analyst. Inside, a middle-aged human man with short, brown hair looked up from his desk. He wore a simple Federation uniform with several medals Alex didn't recognize. Jake, this is Alex Carter, the new aide I told you about, Lisa said. He's having trouble understanding why humans have special privileges here. Commander Phillips stood up and shook Alex's hand. His grip was firm and Alex noticed scars on his knuckles. Pleasure to meet you, Alex. Lisa says you want to know about human history in the Federation. I just don't understand why we're treated differently, Alex said. Everyone else has to go through security, but we walk free. It doesn't make sense. Sit down, Commander Phillips said. I'm going to show you something that's classified at the highest levels. What I'm about to tell you never leaves this room. Alex felt nervous but nodded. Commander Phillips activated a large screen on the wall and pulled up what looked like a historical timeline. 53 years ago, humans made first contact with the Federation, he began. But it wasn't under normal circumstances. The Federation was facing the worst crisis in its history. The screen showed images of strange geometric ships. They looked like they were made of black metal and sharp angles. Alex had never seen anything like them. The Devourers, Commander Phillips continued, a machine intelligence from outside our galaxy. They had already destroyed 3 Federation core worlds and were moving toward the capital systems. Every military strategy the Federation tried had failed. Alex studied the images. The Devourer ships were huge, much larger than any Federation vessel. What made them so dangerous? They were perfectly logical. They calculated every possible Federation response and prepared counters for each one. When Federation fleets attacked, the Devourers knew exactly how to defend. When Federation forces retreated, the Devourers knew exactly where they would go. The screen changed to show Federation military reports, long lists of defeats and failed strategies. Alex could see that the situation had been desperate. The Federation Council was preparing to evacuate entire sectors, Commander Phillips said. They had given up hope of stopping the Devourers. Then humanity arrived. New images appeared on the screen, human ships that looked primitive compared to Federation technology. They were basically metal tubes with chemical rockets attached. No energy shields, no advanced weapons, just simple kinetic cannons and nuclear missiles. The Federation military commanders thought humans were crazy. Commander Phillips continued, our ships were slow and clumsy. Our weapons were basic. We had no chance against Devourer technology. So what happened? Commander Phillips smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. Humans don't fight like other species. When a Thorian ship is destroyed, the crew accepts death with honor. When a Zephyrian vessel is damaged beyond repair, they retreat to fight another day. When human ships were destroyed, we rammed them into enemy vessels. Alex felt shocked. That's suicide. That's human. The Devourers couldn't understand it. Their calculations showed that sacrifice without gain was illogical. But humans kept doing illogical things. The screen showed battle footage from the war. Human ships, on fire and falling apart, deliberately crashing into Devourer vessels. Alex watched soldiers in damaged spacesuits using explosives to destroy enemy equipment, knowing they wouldn't survive. The turning point was the siege of Kepler Station, Commander Phillips said. I was there. Alex looked at the commander with new respect. The man had actually fought in this war. Kepler Station was a mining facility on the edge of Federation space. Not strategically important, but it had 3,000 civilians. The Devourers attacked with everything they had, trying to break our defensive line. The screen showed a space station surrounded by enemy ships. It looked hopeless. Federation Command wanted to evacuate, but Captain Ryan Brooks refused. He had 200 human Marines and basic equipment. No advanced weapons. No backup. The Devourers sent wave after wave of attack drones. How did you survive? We didn't try to win, Commander Phillips said. We just refused to lose. Every time the Devourers took a section of the station, we made them pay for it. We used maintenance, tools as weapons. We turned kitchen equipment into bombs. We rigged the water recycling system to flood certain areas. Alex tried to imagine fighting with such basic tools against advanced machines. That sounds impossible. The Devourers thought so too. They kept sending more forces because their calculations said we should have surrendered already. But humans don't surrender when people need protecting. The screen showed internal footage from the station. Alex saw humans fighting with improvised weapons, holding positions that should have been impossible to defend. They looked tired and scared, but they kept fighting. On the 6th day, something amazing happened. The Devourer attack stopped. Not because they ran out of forces, but because their central intelligence couldn't process what we were doing. What do you mean? The Devourers were machines. They made decisions based on logic and probability, but human behavior broke their algorithms. We kept doing things that made no tactical sense but somehow worked. Commander Phillips pulled up a technical report. A human engineer named Ben Parker had been trapped in the station's power core. Instead of trying to escape, he rewired the entire system to overload in a specific pattern. The energy pulse scrambled Devourer communications across the entire sector. That's incredible. That's just the beginning. A cook named Katie Sullivan turned the cafeteria into a fortress using table legs and kitchen knives. A janitor called. Nick Thompson created booby traps from cleaning supplies that stopped a full Devourer assault team. Alex stared at the reports. Normal people doing extraordinary things with ordinary tools. The Devourers had never encountered anything like human creativity, Commander Phillips continued. They could predict every Federation strategy because other species fight in logical patterns. But humans, we make it up as we go along. The screen showed the final battle. Human reinforcements had arrived, but they were still outnumbered 10-1. Instead of a direct assault, they did something completely unexpected. What did they do? They surrendered. Alex felt confused. But you said humans don't surrender. We don't, but we pretended to. The Devourers brought us aboard their command ship to process us. What they didn't know was that every human carried improvised explosives made from medical supplies and ration packs. The screen showed the inside of a Devourer ship. It was all smooth surfaces and geometric patterns, very clean and organized. The humans didn't try to take over the ship or escape. They just started breaking things, random things, equipment that seemed unimportant. The Devourers couldn't understand why. Why did they do it? Because humans understand that complex systems have weak points. You don't need to destroy everything. You just need to break the right things in the right order. The footage showed humans pulling apart wall panels and cutting wires. It looked like vandalism, but Alex could see there was a plan. Within 2 hours, the entire Devourer fleet lost coordination. Their ships stopped working together. Their weapon systems failed, not because of a superweapon or advanced technology, but because a few dozen humans with basic tools broke the right components. Alex felt amazed and slightly scared. What happened to the Devourers? They retreated. Their central intelligence decided that humans were too unpredictable to fight effectively. The risk of encountering human forces outweighed any possible gain from conquest. Commander Phillips turned off the screen and looked directly at Alex. That's why humans walk freely, through Federation halls. Not because we're harmless, but because everyone remembers what happened when someone tried to harm us. But that was 50 years ago, Alex said. How do they know we're still dangerous? Commander Phillips smiled again. Because nothing about humans has changed. We're still the species that turns anything into a tool. We're still the people who refuse to accept impossible situations. Lisa, who had been quiet during the presentation, finally spoke. Every species in the Federation has evolved specific abilities. They're predictable because their biology determines their behavior. But humans evolved to survive by adapting. We're unpredictable because unpredictability is our greatest strength. Alex thought about everything he had learned. So the other species trust us because they're afraid of us? They trust us because they understand us, Commander Phillips corrected. Humans only become dangerous when threatened or when protecting others. As long as the Federation remains peaceful, humans are the safest species in the galaxy. 2 days after learning about the Devourer War, Alex still felt confused. He understood that humans had saved the Federation, but he didn't understand what made them so special. The other species had natural weapons and abilities. Humans just seem to be good at improvising. Lisa noticed his confusion during their morning briefing. You're still bothered by something, aren't you? I guess I don't see what makes humans so different, Alex said. So we're creative, and we don't give up easily. Is that really enough to make an entire galaxy afraid of us? You need to talk to Dr. Maya Foster, Lisa said. She's the Federation's top expert on species psychology. If anyone can explain human nature to you, it's her. Dr. Foster's office was in the medical section of the station. Alex found her in a laboratory filled with brain scans and computer models. She was a human woman in her 40s with curly red hair and thick glasses. She looked up from her work when Alex entered. You must be Alex Carter, she said with a smile. Lisa told me you might stop by. You want to understand why humans are considered so dangerous? Everyone keeps telling me we're special, but I don't see it, Alex said. We don't have claws or acid or mind control abilities. Dr. Foster gestured to a chair next to her desk. That's exactly why you're special. Sit down and let me show you something. She activated a large screen on the wall. It showed brain scans from different species, each one labeled and color-coded. This is a Thorian brain, she said, pointing to the first image. See these enlarged areas? They control electromagnetic generation. Thorians are born knowing how to create and direct electrical fields. It's built into their biology. The next image showed a different brain structure. Zephyrian brain. These sections produce and regulate their acid systems. They instinctively know how much acid to produce and how to use it safely. Alex studied the scans. Each species had obvious specialized areas in their brains, clearly designed for their unique abilities. Now look at this, Dr. Foster said, bringing up a human brain scan. Alex looked carefully. The human brain didn't have any obviously enlarged sections like the others. It looked more balanced, with different areas of similar size. I don't see anything special, Alex said. Exactly. Humans don't have specialized brain regions for specific abilities. Instead, you have something much more dangerous. She pointed to several areas of the human brain that glowed brighter than the others. Hypertrophied regions associated with pattern recognition, adaptive problem-solving, and creative synthesis. What does that mean? Dr. Foster pulled up a video recording. It showed a human engineer working on a broken machine. Alex watched as the man examined the device, then looked around the room. The engineer picked up a spoon, a piece of wire, and a small magnet. Within minutes, he had repaired the machine using these random objects. Other species see tools, Dr. Foster explained. Humans see possibilities. A Thorian would look at that spoon and see eating utensil. A human sees a lever, a conductor, a weight, a scoop, a hammer, or a dozen other tools depending on what they need. She showed Alex more recordings. A human doctor using a coat hanger to remove something from a patient's throat. A human pilot, repairing his ship's navigation system with parts from a personal music player. A human child building a communication device from toys and kitchen utensils. Every species in the Federation has evolved to be excellent at one thing, Dr. Foster continued. Thorians generate electricity. Zephyrians produce acid. Kalani control emotions. They know exactly what their abilities are and how to use them. And humans? Humans evolved to survive by being adequate at everything and excellent at adaptation. You're not the strongest species, but you're strong enough. You're not the smartest species, but you're smart enough. What makes you dangerous is that you can become whatever you need to be. Alex thought about this. You mean we adapt to situations? More than that. You adapt situations to yourselves. Dr. Foster brought up another video. This footage is from last year. A human maintenance worker named Ben Parker was trapped in a storage room during a station emergency. The door was locked, the communication system was down, and he had no tools. Alex watched as the man examined his surroundings. The room contained only cleaning supplies and a few broken pieces of equipment. What did he do? He created a communication system using cleaning chemicals as batteries, metal fragments as conductors, and fabric strips as insulators. Within an hour, he had contacted security and guided them to his location. That's impressive, but I still don't see why it's dangerous. Dr. Foster smiled. Let me show you the real reason everyone fears humans. She pulled up a classified report marked with security warnings. This incident happened 3 years ago. A human trade negotiator named Katie Sullivan was attending a meeting with Vexithari representatives. The meeting was in a secure room with no weapons allowed. The report showed a floor plan of the meeting room. It was simple, containing only a table, chairs, and some decorative plants. During the meeting, someone tried to assassinate the Vexithari ambassador. The attacker was a Zephyrian extremist who had somehow smuggled acid past security. He dissolved. The door locks entrapped everyone inside. Alex read the report carefully. The acid was extremely dangerous, capable of eating through metal and flesh in seconds. The attacker had enough to kill everyone in the room. What happened? Katie Sullivan neutralized the threat using a decorative plant and a glass of water. Alex looked at Dr. Foster in disbelief. How? The plant was a Terran species that produces alkaline compounds when damaged. She crushed the leaves in the water, creating a basic solution that neutralized the acid. Then she used the plant's root system as a filtration system to purify the air. She just happened to know that? No, she figured it out in about 30 seconds. She recognized the plant species, remembered basic chemistry, and applied both to solve an immediate problem. That's pure human thinking. Dr. Foster brought up more incident reports. Alex read about humans stopping crimes, preventing accidents, and solving problems using nothing but common objects and quick thinking. The most famous case involved Nick Thompson, a human janitor, Dr. Foster said. He discovered a terrorist plot to destroy the station's main reactor. The terrorists had advanced weapons and detailed plans. They had studied every security system and prepared countermeasures. How did a janitor stop them? He didn't fight them directly. Instead, he used his knowledge of the station's cleaning systems to create a defense network. He programmed the automatic cleaning robots to follow specific patterns, turned the floor, polishing system into a communication network, and used maintenance chemicals to create non-lethal but effective deterrents. Alex stared at the report. He turned cleaning equipment into a security system that worked better than the actual security system. The terrorists were caught completely off guard because they had prepared for military responses, not janitor responses. Dr. Foster turned off the screen and looked directly at Alex. That's why humans are dangerous. Every other species has predictable abilities. Thorians will always use electricity. Zephyrians will always use acid. But humans? No one knows what a human will do because humans don't know until they need to do it. So we're dangerous because we're unpredictable? You're dangerous because you're creatively unpredictable. Any species can be random. Humans are random with purpose. You take unrelated things and combine them in ways that shouldn't work but do. Alex thought about his own experiences. He remembered fixing his apartment door with a piece of string and a paperclip. At the time, it had seemed perfectly normal. Is that really so unusual? Let me put it this way, Dr. Foster said. If I gave a broken communication device to a Thorian, they would try to repair it using proper tools and established procedures. If I gave the same device to a human, they might fix it with a fork and some hair ties. Or they might turn it into a cooking device, or they might use parts of it to build something completely different. And that's frightening? It's unpredictable, which makes it dangerous. When the Federation first encountered humans, they ran thousands of computer simulations trying to predict human behavior in various scenarios. The simulations failed every time because humans consistently did things that were simultaneously illogical and effective. Dr. Foster showed Alex one final report. This is a psychological profile of human behavior compiled by the Federation's best military analysts. Their conclusion was that humans cannot be defeated through conventional means because conventional means assume predictable responses. Alex read the summary. Human forces will attempt impossible tactics, use inappropriate weapons, ignore established protocols, and somehow achieve victory through methods that should not work. Recommend avoiding conflict with human forces due to inability to predict or counter human strategies. So everyone leaves us alone because they can't figure out what we'll do next? Everyone leaves you alone because they understand that humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy when cornered. Not because you're stronger or tougher, but because you're the only species that can turn literally anything into exactly What you need it to be. Dr. Foster stood up and walked to her window. Outside, Alex could see humans working alongside aliens throughout ordinary compared to the impressive physical abilities of other species. Alex had been working at the Federation Central Station for 2 weeks when everything changed. He was in his quarters, reviewing trade reports, when the emergency alarms started ringing. The lights in his room switched to red, and an automated voice began speaking in multiple languages. All personnel report to designated safety areas. This is not a drill. Hostile forces have been detected within the station. Alex grabbed his emergency kit and ran toward the diplomatic quarter. The corridors were full of panicking aliens, all trying to reach the safe zones. Security teams rushed past, their weapons ready. But something was wrong. The security teams were moving in predictable patterns, and several areas of the station seemed strangely quiet. Alex's training kicked in, and he realized this wasn't a random attack. Someone had planned this very carefully. He reached the human embassy to find Lisa coordinating with Federation security. Her face was grim as she spoke into a communication device. "What's happening?" Alex asked. "The Nexari Republic," Lisa said, without looking up. "They've been opposed to human membership in the Federation since day one. It looks like they've finally decided to do something about it." Sam Rodriguez, the station's head of security, appeared on the main screen. He was a large human man with graying hair and several scars on his face. Behind him, Alex could see explosions and smoke. "They've taken control of sections 12 through 18, Sam reported. "My people are pinned down in multiple locations. The Nexari have studied our tactics. They're ready for everything we usually do." "How many hostiles?" Lisa asked. "At least 200, maybe more. They've got advanced weapons and they know the station layout better than they should. Someone's been feeding them information for months." Alex felt cold. The Nexari were known for their military precision and strategic thinking. If they had been planning this attack for months, they would have considered every possible human response. "What about the other species?" Alex asked. "Can't they help?" Lisa shook her head. "The Nexari have been very careful. They've only targeted areas with human personnel. They're making this about humanity specifically." On the screen, Sam ducked as something exploded behind him. "I've got another problem. They're systematically isolating human staff members. Every time we try to group up, they hit us with some kind of new countermeasure. It's like they've predicted every move we're going to make." Alex watched the tactical display on Lisa's computer. Red dots showed Nexari positions throughout the station. Blue dots marked human locations. The pattern was clear. Humans were being cut off from each other and trapped in small groups. "They've studied the Devourer War," Lisa said quietly. "They know that humans are most dangerous when working together. Their strategy is to keep us isolated." Suddenly, the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a few seconds later, but the Yaoi communication system was dead. Lisa tried her handheld communicator, but it only produced static. "They've cut communications," she said. "We're on our own now." Alex felt scared, but tried to think logically. "What do we do?" Before Lisa could answer, the embassy's main door exploded inward. Nexari soldiers in full combat armor rushed into the room. They were tall, gray-skinned aliens with 4 arms and natural armor plating. Their weapons looked advanced and deadly. "Humans, you will surrender immediately," the lead soldier said in accented Federation common. "Resistance will result in termination." Lisa raised her hand slowly. Alex did the same. There were 6 Nexari soldiers, all armed with energy weapons. Fighting seemed impossible. "You are Lisa Morgan, senior human diplomat," the soldier continued. "You will come with us. The younger human will remain here under guard." Alex watched helplessly as they took Lisa away. 2 Nexari soldiers stayed behind to guard him. They positioned themselves efficiently, covering all exits and maintaining clear lines of sight. Alex sat in a chair and tried to look scared and helpless. It wasn't hard. He was scared and helpless. But his mind was racing, trying to understand the situation. The Nexari had clearly studied human tactics from the Devourer War. They knew that humans became dangerous when cornered, so they were avoiding direct confrontation. They knew humans worked well together, so they were keeping humans separated. They knew humans were creative with limited resources, so they had probably removed anything that could be used as a tool or weapon. Alex looked around the embassy office. The Nexari had been thorough. All the obvious tools were gone: computers, communication devices, anything metal or electronic. They had left only furniture and basic supplies. But as Alex studied the room more carefully, he began to notice things the Nexari had missed: a decorative plant in the corner, a coffee cup on Lisa's desk, a small picture frame with a photo of Lisa's family. The problem was that Alex couldn't do anything useful by himself. He wasn't a soldier or an engineer. He was just a diplomatic aide with basic training. Then he heard something that changed everything. Through the walls, he could hear voices in the next room. Human voices. "I'm telling you, the ventilation system connects to the main computer core," a woman was saying. "If we can get there, we might be able to restore communications." "With what tools?" a man replied. "They took everything." Alex realized that other humans were trapped in nearby rooms. The Nexari had isolated them, but they weren't as far apart as the aliens thought. Alex looked at his guards. They were standing perfectly still, watching him carefully. But they were focused on preventing escape, not on preventing communication. Alex stood up slowly and walked to the bathroom. The guards allowed this. They had checked the bathroom and knew it contained nothing useful. Inside the bathroom, Alex examined the walls. The embassy was built with standard Federation construction, which meant the walls were designed for different atmospheric requirements. There should be service spaces between rooms. Alex found what he was looking for behind the mirror: a maintenance access panel, just big enough for a human to crawl through. The Nexari had probably checked it, but their larger bodies meant they couldn't actually explore the service spaces. Alex returned to the main room and sat down again. He needed to think. The Nexari expected humans to try heroic escapes or desperate attacks. They were prepared for those responses. But what if he did something they weren't expecting? Alex looked at the coffee cup on Lisa's desk. It was ceramic, nothing special. Then he looked at the plant in the corner. It was a common Federation species, chosen for its ability to clean air and require minimal care. Suddenly, Alex had an idea. It wasn't heroic or desperate. It was simple and quiet and completely unexpected. He stood up and walked to the plant. The guards watched but didn't interfere. It was just a plant. Alex pretended to examine the leaves while actually looking at the soil. Federation regulations required all station plants to be grown in specific soil mixtures. This particular plant needed acidic soil, which meant the soil contained compounds that could be useful. Next, Alex walked to Lisa's desk and picked up the coffee cup. He pretended to be thirsty while actually checking what was left in the cup. Coffee, but not just any coffee. Lisa drank a specific Federation blend that included stimulants from 3 different worlds. Alex sat back down and began planning. He couldn't fight the Nexari soldiers directly. He couldn't escape through the doors. But he could do something much more effective. He could connect with the other trapped humans and coordinate a response that the Nexari would never see coming. Over the next hour, Alex began implementing his plan. He used the bathroom multiple times, each trip allowing him to work on the maintenance panel. The guards thought he was nervous, which was exactly what Alex wanted them to think. During his 4th trip, Alex managed to open the panel and squeeze into the service space. It was dark and cramped, but he could move between rooms. The first room he reached contained Grace Chen, a maintenance technician Alex had met briefly. She was being guarded by 2 Nexari soldiers. Alex managed to get her attention through a small opening in the wall. Using hand signals, he explained that he had found a way to move between rooms. Grace understood immediately and signaled back that she had useful knowledge about the station's systems. The next room contained Pete Johnson, a data analyst from the trade division. Pete was younger than Alex and looked terrified, but he was also clearly thinking about their situation. Alex spent the rest of the day moving carefully between the three rooms, using the service spaces to coordinate with Grace and Pete. By evening, they had developed a plan. It wasn't a plan to escape or fight back directly. It was a plan to turn the Nexari's own strategy against them. The Nexari had studied human military tactics and survival techniques. They had prepared countermeasures for every known human strategy. But they had made one crucial mistake. They had studied soldiers and engineers and combat specialists. They hadn't studied a diplomatic aide, a maintenance worker, and a data analyst. Working together, Alex, Grace, and Pete didn't have military training or advanced technical skills. But they had something much more dangerous: three completely different perspectives on the same problem. As night fell on the station, the three humans began putting their plan into action. They weren't going to fight like soldiers. They weren't going to escape like prisoners. They were going to fight like humans by turning everything around. Alex began the plan at exactly midnight, station time. Through the maintenance passages, he had coordinated with Grace and Pete for hours. Now it was time to see if three ordinary humans could defeat an enemy that had prepared for everything. The first step was the simplest. Alex returned to his room and asked his guards for water. They allowed this, watching carefully as he filled a cup from the bathroom sink. What they didn't see was Alex collecting small amounts of soil from the plant and mixing it with the remaining coffee in Lisa's cup. The mixture looked disgusting, but Alex had learned enough from Dr. Foster to know what he was doing. The acidic soil compounds combined with the coffee's stimulants would create a mild but effective chemical reaction. Not enough to hurt anyone, but enough to cause problems for sensitive Nexari equipment. Meanwhile, Grace was working on her part of the plan. As a maintenance technician, she knew exactly how the station's atmospheric systems worked. Using hand signals through the walls, she had explained to Alex and Pete how to access the air circulation controls. Pete's job was the most complex. As a data analyst, he understood the station's information systems better than anyone. More importantly, he knew about alien psychology from his work with trade negotiations. At 12:15 a.m., Alex spilled his chemical mixture near the air circulation intake in his room. He made it look like an accident, apologizing to his guards while the mixture began to evaporate into the air system. The Nexari soldiers didn't notice anything at first, but after a few minutes, their communication devices started producing static. The acidic compounds in the air were interfering with their electronics in ways they hadn't expected. Grace felt the change in air pressure that told her Alex's plan was working. She began her own part, using her knowledge of the station's maintenance systems to create small pressure changes throughout the Nexari-controlled areas. To the Nexari soldiers, it seemed like random mechanical problems. Air circulation slowing down in some areas, speeding up in others. Temperature fluctuations that made their armor uncomfortable. Nothing dangerous or obviously sabotage, just annoying technical issues. But Grace wasn't causing random problems. She was creating a specific pattern of atmospheric changes that would affect Nexari biology in predictable ways. The Nexari came from a world with very stable atmospheric conditions. Small changes in air, pressure and humidity made them uncomfortable and slightly disoriented. Not enough to disable them, but enough to make them less alert and more irritable. Pete waited until he could hear the Nexari guards in his room becoming agitated by the environmental changes. Then he began the most audacious part of the plan. He started talking to his guards about Nexari culture. "I've been studying your people for my work," Pete said conversationally. "Your military traditions are fascinating. The way you organize your forces based on birth order and family status is so different from human methods." The guards tried to ignore him, but Pete kept talking. He mentioned specific Nexari customs, military ranks, and social structures. Information he had learned from trade negotiations and cultural exchange programs. What the guards didn't realize was that Pete was systematically triggering their deepest cultural fears and anxieties. He talked about concepts that Nexari society considered taboo or unlucky. He mentioned historical defeats and social failures that every Nexari learned about as cautionary tales. Within an hour, the atmospheric changes and psychological pressure were affecting Nexari forces throughout the station. They became more aggressive but less coordinated. They started making small mistakes and second-guessing their orders. At 2 a.m., the three humans began Phase 2 of their plan. Alex used the maintenance passages to reach a central location where he could access multiple systems simultaneously. Grace guided him through the process of connecting to the station's main atmospheric controls. But instead of trying to fight the Nexari directly, they did something completely unexpected. They started helping other trapped aliens. The Nexari had avoided targeting non-human species to prevent them from joining the fight. But by creating environmental problems, they had accidentally trapped several alien diplomats and workers in dangerous situations. Alex and Grace used the atmospheric systems to provide clean air to a group of Kalani delegates who were trapped in a smoke-filled area. They redirected water flow to help Zephyrian workers who were stuck in an overheating section. Pete coordinated these efforts by using his knowledge of alien psychology to predict how each species would respond to assistance. More importantly, he began broadcasting information about the rescue efforts through the station's emergency communication system. The Nexari had cut off official communications, but they hadn't thought about the automated systems that managed environmental controls. Pete used these systems to send coded messages throughout the station. The messages weren't calls for help or military instructions. They were simple information updates. Humans are helping trapped aliens in Section 12. Kalani delegates safe. Water restored to Section 15. By dawn, something unexpected was happening throughout the station. The Nexari had planned to isolate humans and demonstrate that they were dangerous to the Federation. Instead, humans were risking their own safety to help aliens escape Nexari-created hazards. Every alien species on the station could see that humans weren't the problem. They were the solution. At 6 a.m., the situation changed dramatically. Sam Rodriguez's voice came through the emergency communication system, but not in the way anyone expected. "This is Security Chief Rodriguez to all Nexari forces. I'm calling for immediate surrender." Alex listened in amazement as Sam explained the situation. "You've been studying human military tactics for months, but you missed something important. Humans don't just fight when threatened. We fight when anyone is threatened." Throughout the night, human security teams had been working to protect alien civilians. Not to defeat the Nexari, but to make sure innocent people stayed safe. The Nexari had expected humans to focus on fighting back. Instead, humans had focused on preventing harm to others. "Every alien species on this station has seen humans risk their lives to help during your attack," Sam continued. "You've demonstrated exactly why humans are trusted throughout the Federation. We protect everyone, even when we're under attack ourselves." The Nexari commander's voice came through the system, sounding confused and angry. "This changes nothing. Humans are still dangerous to galactic peace." "You're right," Sam replied. "We are dangerous. We're dangerous to anyone who threatens innocent people. That's exactly why the Federation trusts us." Over the next few hours, Alex watched through the maintenance passages as the Nexari attack fell apart, not because they were defeated in battle, but because they had lost the moral authority for their cause. Alien species throughout the station were actively helping human security teams. The Thorians used their electromagnetic abilities to disable Nexari weapons. The Kalani used their pheromone control to calm panicked civilians. The Zephyrians used their acid production to safely dissolve Nexari barricades. The Federation itself was demonstrating why humans were valued members, not because they were the strongest or smartest species, but because they brought out the best in everyone else. By noon, the attack was over. The Nexari forces had surrendered not to superior firepower, but to the realization that they had united the entire Federation against them. Alex emerged from the maintenance passages to find Lisa waiting for him in the embassy. She looked tired but proud. "I heard about your atmospheric manipulation plan," she said. "Very creative use of plant soil and coffee." "We just did what seemed logical," Alex replied. "Grace knew the systems, Pete understood the psychology, and I could move between rooms. It seemed like we should work together." Lisa smiled. "And that's exactly why humans are trusted in Federation halls. You don't just adapt to situations, you adapt situations to help everyone involved." Later that day, Admiral Marcus Webb addressed the Federation Council about the Nexari attack. Alex watched the speech from the embassy, finally understanding everything he had learned over the past few weeks. The Nexari studied human military capabilities, Admiral Webb said. They prepared countermeasures for human weapons, human tactics, and human strategies. But they failed to understand human nature. Humans don't fight to win, he continued. We fight to protect. We don't adapt to survive. We adapt to make sure everyone survives. That's what makes us dangerous to those who threaten others, and valuable to those who want peace. Alex thought about his own experience during the attack. He hadn't felt heroic or special. He had just seen a problem and worked with others to solve it. The fact that the problem involved armed enemies and complex systems hadn't changed the basic approach. Every other species in the Federation has evolved specific abilities, Admiral Webb concluded. Thorians generate electricity, Zephyrians produce acid, Kalani control emotions. Humans do something different. We turn everything around us into whatever the situation requires. Give a Thorian a tool and they'll use it as designed. Give a human that same tool and they'll find 17 uses the designer never imagined, 3 of which will be weapons, and 5 of which will help someone else. Alex finally understood. The looks he had seen from other species on his first day, it wasn't fear of human strength or